from the first memories I have, I remember feeling like I'm here to do something positive, um, change the world for the better. Yeah, dude, I like re-fell in love with being outside and animals and insects. You know, you think about like a tree bearing fruit. If a tree is bearing rotten fruit, you're not going to eat the fruit. You want to have fruit that's like really ripe and lush and beautiful. So the same thing with meat. It's like some meat is doing better than others. And I definitely think that that will impact us as well. I don't know why. I don't know what's right and wrong. Maybe there is no right and wrong. I'm not sure. It feels like truth. It feels like, that makes sense to me in a way that feels good. Say you go to Australia and you live there for a year. You're not going there and getting something that you don't have. You're going there and something is being brought out of you that you already have.
Welcome to The Ambiguous Truth. I'm your host, Anthony Mistretta. This conversation is with a friend of mine I met a couple of years ago. He was just passing through Denver and had some mutual friends. We crossed paths at, I believe, my going away party. We didn't really talk a whole lot, but we definitely felt a connection. And so over the next couple of years, I had moved abroad. I had left Denver. We kind of kept a long distance relationship. And once I got back into the US and decided to pursue this podcast. Naturally, I reached out to him and ended up paying him a visit down in Austin, Texas. I felt inclined to interview him and ask him about creativity, identity, and some other concepts that you're about to explore. Super excited to introduce you to a friend of mine, someone I think you'll probably see back on the show, Micah Rynders. Micah.
Yes, bro.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you mind just taking a minute to introduce yourself?
Yeah. What do you want to know?
That's up to you. What do you want me to know?
Dude. I don't know. I'm out here. I'm a question answerer, that's for sure.
Cool.
So,
All right. What's your full name?
my full name is Micah Rynders.
Cool.
I'm from Michigan, born and raised. Grand Rapids, Michigan, G-Rap.
G-Rap. Do people call it that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we do. I mean, kind of.
okay.
Yeah, GR is more of the household name for it. GR, Grand Rapids. Good place to grow up. Now I'm out here in Austin, Texas, living life.
Hosting. So thank you very much for hosting me at your sweet house with a pool.
Yes,
That's
bro.
been awesome.
Yeah, blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's been cool. We met 2 years ago, just shy of 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was like, just shy of 2 years.
And it was my going away party that you happened to be at. And here we are 2 years later. We had a few phone calls, I think 2 when I was in Australia.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And then I was like, yo, I need to get out here and visit you.
Yes, bro.
Yeah. So you popped back onto my radar because I saw on social media your shift, maybe not shift, but your focus on creative, mostly photography. So you've been really kind of diving into that, as well as love people. So proudly representing. I want to hear before kind of creative, what was Micah like before photography, before love people? Was there a point in your life where you didn't really have that creative component?
Dude, I've been shooting photos since 7th grade, which was when I first got a camera. So yes, in the sense of like I now do it professionally. So there definitely was a time like pre my professional career. But yeah, I fell in love with it when I first picked up a camera in 7th grade.
Did you know that you wanted to do it professionally at some capacity at that point in time?
No, dude. No, it was just like a need almost. And a desire and a really fun way to capture travels. That was a huge motivating factor when I got my first little point and shoot like digital camera in middle school, you know those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to Mexico with my family. It was like, oh, I just want to capture these memories and get a camera. That was like the extent of the thought. It was very not thought out, but it just kind of was like, I want this.
Yeah.
Got one for my birthday and then took it down there and was just shooting everything and had a blast. And then pretty quickly thereafter, I started playing with it more just with this camera. And I didn't really like know what I was doing. And I wasn't thinking like I'm a photographer. I was just playing around, having a good time. Um, and then at some point in time, I just realized like, oh, I'm good at this. Just like naturally. I'm not doing anything. I'm not editing anything like, but I was just like, yeah, I'm taking cool photos. These are sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm like 14, you know.
What is it about photography?
Dude, I've just sort of realized what it is. It took me a long time. I didn't have an explanation for a long time, but um, for me, my experience of Earth, like my experience of life in general, is very, very visual. So, yeah, everything is like visual first. That's my predominant sense in the way I make sense of the world and what I enjoy the most, I would say. And when I'm going around life and I just like, my eyes are a camera. I feel like it's like I will go around and see things that are little, I call them little pockets of beauty, where something that in my field of vision is like framed nicely, if you will. Um, and I like the way everything's coming together compositionally. Like I see that and I'm just like, oh, like that right there, that image, I want to share that. Like I want to share what I'm experiencing with other people. Because to me, an experience like that, I'm like, it just hits so hard. Like it's just so deep within me of an experience that I'm like, yo, like, are you seeing this? Like to my friends, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes I would have to explain it, but with photo, I could just capture it and show somebody. Yeah.
I feel like that's such a common thread with artists, whether they're visual artists, musicians, photographers. It's like that the goal of like taking what they have up here in their brain and in their mind and then translating that into something that others can see or hear or experience to some capacity. And like that fulfillment that you get from achieving that, like that's the aha. Like that's the moment that I think artists live for.
Yes, bro. Oh, yeah. If I can do that well to where what I'm seeing is actually translating to what I'm showing, it's unmatched for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned traveling and you were a little bit nomadic for a while, right?
I was.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, because the first stop I made was when we met.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was
Your
my
first stop in your little
first stop
nomadic
was
journey was
Denver, bro.
Denver. No
Yeah.
shit. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so I was working a corporate video job in Chicago. I had been living there for a few years, and I think I was 27 at the time, and I remember having just like a moment where I realized like, yo, I'm not invincible. I'm going to die one day. And it was, I knew that conceptually, but I didn't feel that until that moment. And I think it was at work. So I'm shooting videos at Nordstrom. I'm in on the floor in a Nordstrom, no windows. It's cold. I'm in like a coat because the AC is just blasting. Same
What month was
playlist.
this in Chicago?
It's probably summer. They're just cranking it.
Yeah, just like the typical mall Nordstrom shivering.
Yes.
Yeah, I could picture it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that job was a blessing, but it was definitely just like monotony and yeah, I just had this moment like tied up in that job and kind of in my lifestyle, how I was living in Chicago, just being like, okay, um, what am I doing? Like I'm going to die one day. I want to be able to look back on my life and be stoked and be fulfilled in the sense that like I didn't leave any what ifs on the table. I didn't leave any question marks on the table. Um, I didn't know what to do or what I was doing. I just knew that there was something calling to me of like, this isn't it. And so the pieces aligned well enough to be like, okay, my roommates were moving on, doing a different thing. Um, my lease was coming to a close. I didn't have anything I wanted to do next, but I had this calling. I was like, I'm gonna like sell a bunch of my stuff and um, put some of my stuff at my parents' house in storage and just like not have a home base for a second and just explore, do some traveling, like just chill, do like nothing, I guess. I don't know. There wasn't much of a plan, but it was like just I knew what I wanted to not be doing.
Yeah.
And so starting there, being like, let me put an end to this thing, let me get out of this city. I knew one thing was I really needed to reconnect with nature. I love Chicago, but I couldn't see the stars, man. It was like nighttime. There's just like people revving their engines all the time, and I can't see the stars, and there's not a ton of trees, and like I'm just in the city life, like doing that, and it was getting to me. Um, so yeah, I began what ended up being like a year and a half sort of nomadic transient journey, doing some travels and staying back home in Michigan and in between, and changed my whole life, bro.
Dude, I resonate with all of that. Not having any idea what you want to do, but like getting to that moment of what am I doing here? Like I don't know what I want, but this ain't it. Yeah. And it changes your life. I think anytime you get to take a step away and just like appreciate nature. What were some of your favorite nature highlights of your nomadic journey?
Yeah, that's a great question, bro. So when I was in Michigan, I was in Grand Rapids and I was living with one of my close friends, and he's got this house in this little quiet neighborhood that is near a creek and just trees everywhere. It's like this lush little pocket, kind of just in the middle of normal suburban whatever. And there was just every kind of species there, bro. We had deer at that house, fox, skunks, turkeys, and this is like you're in the city, like it's Grand Rapids. It's not a huge city, but you're not like in the country.
Sure.
And something about it, man, there was just like there's all kinds of plants in the place. It's super natural, very like natural yard, all kinds of insects, and I was doing a lot of nothing, so I was spending a lot of time just like outside hanging out, and I was just surrounded by these animals. And this was like shortly after being in a city, being in the like capitalism, all the humans, like concrete, smoggy-ish air, and it was just like it was like being in a kid's book, bro. It was magic. Yeah. That was definitely a highlight. Just that being sort of normal, um, allowed me to settle into like, oh, I really value this. Like, this is something I want to keep with me whenever I decide, okay, here it is what I'm going to do next. And like, I have more of a direction. It ignited my value that's always been there to be a part of nature. I mean, we're animals, right?
100%.
So to embrace that and be connected again. Yeah, dude, I like re-fell in love with being outside and animals and insects and just feeling like a kid in that.
Yeah,
It's like
reconnecting with
it's
that
freedom.
child inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you think that you're able to like bring that childlike awe and appreciation for the little things in the world into your life now, where not saying you're not a part of nature, but you're doing more than nothing now? Your goals seem to have kind of evolved, and you're not just living sort of a transient, more fluid life. How are you able to still hold on to those lessons and those learnings and those experiences from a time of tremendous freedom and exploration?
Yeah, dude, it's shifted a bit because I have other things going on, so I just don't have as much time to like sit outside. But I still make it a point to go get outside. And bro, the best part about insects specifically is they're everywhere, and I think I attract them too.
Yeah, there's a spider right there
Yeah,
that you're
bro,
playing with.
I had a little jumping spider, let him off on the plant.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it's like it's pretty effortless, and it's just taking a minute to like step outside, and instead of like stepping outside and just looking around and then like going back inside, I'll step outside and I'll just like slow down, take a second, and then I'm looking around, and that's when, to me, I start seeing stuff that's like there's magic in it. Where this morning I go outside just to like get a breath of fresh air in the morning, get some sun, and do my cars, my mobility. And I'm slowing down, I'm out there, and I just stand for a second. I'm just looking around, and then I see like a bunch of I see a spider web. It's like from the umbrella onto the chair, and I'm connected to it at this point now, where I like to put myself in the shoes of these beings, because I'm like, this homie just like yeeted off the umbrella and flew through the air, swinging a web, and then landed on the thing and attached it, and like, so I'm thinking about like what is going on out there, because it's a bunch of life having an experience, and that's a fact. And I don't find myself as any bit like above or removed. I'm a different flavor of life, and that's a different flavor, but it's just as alive. So I like to just be like, oh man, like thinking about it like if it was me. And then I'm in the zone, I'm flowing, and I'm looking around, I'm realizing that like, dude, our yard is covered with like these glistening spider webs. And it's just a joy to know that like while I am sleeping and dreaming and like waking up and having human challenges and facing my day, like there's also life going on out there and like doing its thing. And these spiders were out at night like trying to get their money, like let's go for food.
Yeah. Well, yesterday we were talking about how like it's common that like humans paint our species as like the most intelligent, the most capable, and like in reality we just don't understand the ways that all the other animals can communicate. You're spitting some fun elephant facts about the way that they communicate with their trunks through the earth. That's crazy.
Yeah. Nuts.
So I think there's clearly like an appreciation for every form of life, humans, people included.
Mm-hmm.
Has that always been there?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. I from the first memories I have, I remember being like, feeling like I'm here to do something positive, change the world for the better. And I think it's always sort of been coming out of me, and I have not always been aware of like what it is. But I think it's always been an awe for this place, bro, like this planet. I've always had that, and I've often let it out, you know. And I think that, yeah, I mean that I just remember feeling that way like forever, this life.
Sounds like there's a lot of things that ring true with you today that you feel have always been a part of who you are. Can you share like a little bit about, we talked a little bit yesterday about identity, but I put a cap in it just for today.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about like what identity is to you, what that means, and sort of how you've seen that shift, how you've seen it evolve, and like how you feel confident in your identity today and what it took for you to get to that point?
It's funny because I don't think it's always, for me, it's not always been accessible. It's not always been like something I can pull up. I remember earlier in my 20s not thinking about it at all, and then I remember like mid 20s, 25, 26, 27, like starting to like ask like those questions and whatnot. And I think asking those questions could have been the catalyst, but just what I've gotten to now, being 29, I'm like, man, it's not something that I have to like think about or find out or figure out. It's just like I'm me. I'm me.
Interesting. So you said it's known but not what did you say? You said I think it's known but not accessible.
So yeah,
Like it's hard to articulate, but you know it deeply.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like we don't have to do anything to find our identity. We just have to be us. Now, there's also a level to which you can get to know yourself better. And so for example, I used to drink a lot of alcohol, and that got in my way for sure, because it's just like numbing me, and I'm numbing myself and going and doing things that I wouldn't do sober. to try to fit in, to try to be cool, try to have fun. Like the heart is good in it. It's literally like I want to have a good time with my friends. I want to be a part of the tribe. I want to whatever. Um, but I think about that and I'm like, oh, dude, I was disconnected from who I am because I was using something to basically like allow myself to try to feel like I had an identity into something that was like it just wasn't real for me. Um, and alcohol not even being necessarily to blame. You can do that with a lot of different things. But then to the insects has been hilarious, bro, because I've realized coming back to like connecting with nature and realizing how much I love bugs. I'm like, dude, I always loved bugs. Loved bugs when I was a kid. There just came a point in time where it's like I'm distracted, I'm going to school and I'm thinking about like popularity and girls and grades and stuff that's going on in my family and whatever, and stuff is like getting in the way. And then I'm taking in information about like how I'm supposed to be out here and how to be a human and how to be in society. And for me, that journey was like hearing a lot of people say like what you should do and what is right and what to do. And bro, like a lot of those voices are conflicting, or a lot of those voices are just sending you down a different path. And I listen to all of those. Like that, the way I am is like if somebody says something to me, I'm listening, and I will weigh it, and I will oftentimes take it on, for better or worse. It's kind of how I navigate life. So hearing a bunch of voices from society or family or religion or whatever it is, school, I feel like I kind of lost my identity because I was like trying to be XYZ thing, when in reality, I didn't lose my identity. It was just like underneath a bunch of stuff that I was trying to take on that wasn't quite real.
Yes.
So my journey with like identity now is like, it's all just courage. It's all just like, can I have the courage to let out what is actually real for me?
Yeah.
Which oftentimes feels kind of embarrassing because I'm like, I'm the big, tall, blonde dude, like wearing a neon hat, like freaking out about a bug.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people are like doing a thing or networking, and I'm just like, it's goofy, bro. But I feel so much better because it's real for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to just kind of be like, I don't know, like if you mess with it, you mess with it. And if you don't, like whatever, it's fine. But it feels good for me to be able to do that. And through through like this approach, I've been able to just see more and more of like, okay, this is real for me. Like, oh, that's somebody else's voice. That's not my identity.
Yes.
Get back to what's real for me. And there is I don't think there's like a finish line necessarily. I think it's probably an ongoing journey. But I really have found a lot of peace in that has resolved a lot of issues for me because I'm no longer pretending to be somebody else or like denying myself of what is alive for me. I'm just being me.
Dude, I love that framing because I fall still into the trap of like I must move across the world to like figure out who I am, right? And like
bro.
I literally did that. And I think I would never regret that decision. It was the best decision I made. Like at that time, there's nothing better I could have done. But I love the idea that your identity is already part of you. And so it's not a matter of like going out and trying to find it. Yeah. It's a matter of allowing it to surface.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a beautiful articulation because that's something I really, 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 I think I've struggled with. And like, I don't wish I would have done that a couple of years ago because everything comes at the right time. And I'm glad that I made the decisions I did. But I'm going to take that little nugget with me for a while. So I think that's wonderful.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's relieving, bro.
Yeah.
It's relieving because you're like, oh, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You do.
And it takes so much pressure off.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to go fulfill these the set of things, these objectives that you have to do in order to figure out who you are. It's like, you know who you are at the core. And it almost feels like, you know, your identity is something that is like deep within you. And in order for you to like let it out, it's not a matter of moving or, you know, trying a new activity. It's like just slowly letting little pieces of you continue or start to surface. And as you sort of slowly release those things, as they come to the reality of, you know, Micah's life, Anthony's life, those are you reinforcing or identifying perhaps for the first time, like the components of your identity. Yeah, I love that. I was talking to my mom about my sort of independent journey in this world and like solo quest that I've been going on for some time now to try and like figure out who I am, you know, and understand like what Anthony is at the core. And she said something that stuck with me because I remember saying like trying to like something about, you know, self-discovery and understanding who I am. She's like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't even know, you know? And it's like, it's tough because I think generations above us haven't given themselves the opportunity to really think about identity and really think about who they are at a core. But even though we're thinking about it, it's such a massive concept that it's scary to think about. But I love the frame that you put it in because I think it really relieves some of that pressure and it makes it something small and something simple, not something easy, right? Because a lot of it is going against the grain, not intentionally against the grain, but just like absorbing things from the outside world, recognizing what are the things that resonate with me and what are the things that don't, and then like slowly releasing the parts of you into this world that are truly Micah or truly Anthony.
Yeah, dude, it's just a perspective shift.
Yeah.
And it's just a shift from like, it's not something that you go out and get. In fact, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is already there. And so it doesn't mean that there's no work to be done. So you can go out into the world and experience things, but you're not, say you go to Australia and you live there for a year, you're not going, you kind of are, but you're not going there and getting something that you don't have.
Yeah.
You're going there and something is being brought out of you that you already have.
Yeah.
You know, and so yes, you still, it's a bit of semantics where it's like, yeah, you still needed to go there to get to that, but the perspective shift of like you're not going getting anything. It's like bringing out of you what's already there.
Yes.
And then keeping that mindset around asking the question of like, look, you know, questioning your own identity and just who am I and what do I want to do, and just realizing like, well, all you have to do is come back inner, like inside, turn it back around to yourself and be like, well, what's alive for me?
Yeah.
What excites me? Like what's here?
I think that whole concept really parallels something that's honestly been a theme of this weekend. Been a theme of this weekend around like being whole, not being broken, you know, being loved. Like you are a beautiful creation, whether you believe in a creator or, you know, happenstance, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's the recognition that you are a beautiful, a loved, a whole, a complete thing in and of itself. And you don't need anyone else or anything else to bring that out. It's the same concept, just in a different facet of life.
Yeah, bro.
That's been an important thing. Like there's a reason that came up 3-4 times this weekend, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I went to therapy. I will go to therapy and continue, but I've taken a little bit of a break and moving to life coaching. Like the first thing that we said that my coach told me on the introductory call was like, therapy kind of operates under the assumption that you're broken and need fixing. And life coaching operates on the assumption that you are whole and amazing and complete already. It's just creating the best version of yourself, letting you truly blossom into everything that you could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I want to transition and talk a little bit about like kind of the spiritual world.
Tight.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Yeah. I knew you'd get excited. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about like your spiritual journey. We talked a little bit last night. It was at like midnight, so I was ravenous. So I think a lot of it was kind of
cooking.
Yeah, I was cooking. It's cooking. I was fucking putting it down, dude.
Yeah, some was good, bro.
She was so good. I hadn't eaten in like 7 hours, so I need some. But talk to me a little bit about kind of like what is spirituality to you? How do you kind of see the spiritual world? What is that kind of, in the grand scheme of things, how do you feel like you fit into that world, even if it's not a part of like the world that you're, like acting in, if that makes sense?
So I'll start with how do I see this world? And we can go from there. I love the perspective. It's the one that I am fully bought into, that I'm a spiritual being in like a physical body. So I like dimensions as well. So say there's like a separate dimension, a higher dimension or whatever. I don't think our language quite can capture it because it's above. It's like another dimension. But another dimension, there's like my soul is hanging out. And then that dimension's outside of time, because time only exists here on this plane. And so this spirit is like, okay, I'm going to go incarnate as Micah, as Micah Rynders, like human, that do that. Um, and when that happens, it's like you're going to become a lower dimensional being and experience separation and like forget your nature and become attached to this stuff. And you navigate that journey. I'm 29 years into like that journey, and it's just as real as there being no spiritual world, because like for me right now, because I'm in this experience right now, and I'm a spiritual being like operating this. So that's sort of like the perspective of like what is my spiritual essence, I guess, and the human spiritual essence, and maybe beyond human as well, to start us off.
Yeah. Have you always felt that way?
Dude, maybe. I've always had experiences that I felt like were some, spiritual, I guess, throughout my life, and just kind of didn't know what to do about him, and felt like if I talked about him, people would shame me, and so I just kind of kept it to myself and like moved on with my life. But I've always been drawn to like the fantasy and the magical and the stories like that, because yeah, they're cool and exciting, but because I'm like, it feels like truth. It feels like, that makes sense to me in a way that feels good. Because I think it's like relieving to these feelings that I have of like, there's something more than like, it doesn't, to me, it like never really made sense for there not to be more to this experience, because from as long as I can remember, I have just wondered. I remember being like probably 4 or 5, and being like, what do you mean God just always was? And like weighing like what is time, and how could like God exist like before time? Like what is all that? I always just remember like having these thoughts. I'm like riding around in the car with my family, and they're probably talking about who knows what's for dinner or whatever, and I'm sitting there like, so okay, so if the universe, but like what's beyond the universe, like what's outside of the universe, like that's just always been what's going on. So I've definitely always like felt sort of interested and kind of tapped to some sort of like there's something else. And I was raised Christian, and not necessarily like spiritual Christian. I would say more like dogmatic, and image based and kind of judgy, like Christian. And so there wasn't much cultivation of this or dialogue around it. So it wasn't until I, just like fucked off my life and went and traveled and like did nothing and started reading like interesting, weird, out there books, that I realized I was like, oh, there's like there's stuff that has language that there is language for what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
And so again, same thing with like the identity thing. I'm like, yeah, this is just like awoken or put language to the experience that I do think I've sort of always had it.
Yeah, you maybe didn't know like what that was, and you didn't know how to articulate it, and you probably didn't even know what to like research or read or look up.
Yeah.
But you had that like feeling of, oh, there's something else out there.
Yeah.
So we talked a couple of days ago about kind of your shift away from meat, and you talked a little bit about like how there's sort of like I don't know what word you use, maybe energy of like the whatever you consume. And you talked about how thinking about some of the like consuming beef that, where the cows are treated poorly, you are consuming that trauma to a sense. You
Yeah.
verbalized it way nicer than that.
But it's basically that though. Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit more about kind of maybe that transition, but also like, can you just, for everyone watching and listening to the show, can you just restate kind of like your concept around like absorbing that trauma of the animal and kind of what that looks like?
Yeah. So think about this. We care, or more and more we're starting to care about the soil that our like fruits and vegetables and whatnot our crops are grown in, right? So why wouldn't we do the same thing with the animals, where like what is going on with their environment, as opposed to just like it's just meat and the meat itself is all that matters. It's like, dude, if we're gonna, no way. Like it's like, what is the energy that they're experiencing that you're then consuming? So if you have, just like a super mistreated animal and then you consume that food, you're consuming like the remnant or the result of like something that's been not like having a good time. It's not been vibing high. So, you think about like it's the like a tree bearing fruit. If a tree is bearing rotten fruit, you're not going to eat the fruit. You want to have fruit that's like really ripe and lush and beautiful. And some crops are doing better than others because they're in better soil.
Yeah.
And they're healthier and whatever. And so the same thing with meat. It's like some meat is doing better than others. And I definitely think that will impact us as well. And then furthermore with meat, I think then plants, because meat is these animals are having emotional experiences.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I even think plants are too, but they're on a different temporal plane. So it just kind of plays out differently.
But even with plants, there's so many examples of people who like talk to their plants, communicate with their plants, and the plants grow. Like, I don't talk to my plants on a daily basis, but I do try, especially when I'm like feeling really good, morning routine, fresh pot of coffee. I'm like, maybe it's time to water. I tend to overwater my plants, so I'm like really cautious with that. But I'll go to my plants. I'm like, oh, you look beautiful today. Oh, you sprouted a new leaf here. And there's like studies and evidence to support that having like a rapport and treating this, it's a living creature, but it's not like I don't know, like it's not like an animal that's giving you any sort of feedback. Perhaps there is feedback there, but maybe I'm not attuned to it. Maybe there's some people out there who really are more attuned to that feedback.
Sure.
But I think with animals, it's a whole step further. It's like, they are having an emotional experience, as you said. And I've never, like, honestly, until a couple of days ago, I'd never thought about that. And it's kind of a shame that like that's not been something that I've really thought of before, because I don't know, like we mentioned Australia a couple of times, but when I got out there and like I ate the meat, like it tasted so much better, but I feel like it was a better experience because they're not quite at the level that we are in the US, where like there's as much mistreatment of the animals, and like you can just tell. Like when you consume the meat, it's like, oh, you can tell that this is just like overall like a better experience for my body, which means it was probably a better experience for that animal, that cow or that pig or whatever it is you're consuming.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I don't even really know what to make of all of it. I haven't landed somewhere I feel like I'm going to stay necessarily. At some point I need to eat food, and
At some point,
right? Like,
at quite a few points during the day,
yeah,
maybe.
quite a few points.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a video that was talking about how some scientists or whatever, like, electrically analyzed house plants, um, while their owner left, and like went about and did their thing, and then when their owner's coming back, within 2 kilometers, the plants perked up.
No shit.
Yeah, so they're like, yeah, owner, caretaker, whatever.
Yeah.
Is the person that lives there is coming home, and the plants perk up when he's 2 kilometers away.
Wow.
Somehow they're tapped into like him coming home or whatever. Maybe it's a timing thing. Who knows? Whatever it is, that's magic to me.
Yeah.
That's so tight. And that to me is like, oh, like, dude, this homie might be having an emotional experience too.
Yeah.
I don't know. So my thought about like eating meat and not eating meat and eating plants, it's like, well, you're eating, really what I land on is like a tree that's making fruit, or a plant that's like bearing fruit, is like an offering almost. It's like it's giving it up. It wants to be eaten. It's like, here's this like fresh life stuff. That's what I want to take in. And and meat oftentimes is like something that was like killed, and its life was like ended and taken. So then you're taking more than you're like receiving or something.
Yeah.
And I also really love the idea of going on a hunt and being a part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like bow hunting an elk, and then being there and being a part of the energy exchange, and being able to then like go up to the animal. It's probably, I don't know if it's dead or what, but being like thanking it and having this like presence, this energetic exchange, and then working to like take this meat and bring it out with me. And that to me seems much more sacred.
Yeah.
And in a way where like the energy I would be taking would be like giving to me through this thing.
Right.
But even that, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure on it. That's why I just, as of right now, I've laid it on like when I feel in me that it's like not a time to eat meat, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. And I think it's, when you're like, when you eat spinach, right? Spinach was alive, it grew, and then it was picked and it died in that process, right? And you're not eating spinach that is living, because it's not absorbing any nutrients. It's not, going through photosynthesis. It's not doing any of the things that the plant does when it's a living, existing plant. Cutting a leaf of a, spinach, we don't, or if we were to chop off, a branch of that tree, we like don't think about the emotional experience or the pain, right, that tree went through for that. This might be a little bit of a tricky question, but does it seem like hypocritical that if you think a plant can have an emotional experience, maybe it doesn't feel pain, but it has an emotional experience, but you're okay with consuming a plant, how is that allowed? But if a cow has an emotional experience and you consume that cow, that's not okay.
It's a great question, bro. I don't know for sure. The best I've felt around that question so far is aiming to predominantly eat things that are like appearing in abundance. And
yes. Yeah.
And yeah, like I would say a fruit, for example, specifically, this is the best example, is growing off of a plant, and the plant is like, here, eat this, because we're going to help spread its seeds, right? It's like it's strategizing, where it's like, I'll make something that's healthy and yummy and has my seeds in it, and then you'll eat it and you'll poop and you'll put my seeds into the ground, and then more of me will come up. And so the point is like, here, it's given. I don't need a ton of vegetables, because I think vegetables are doing it a little differently. But that's my thought. Like, I love eating eggs, because eggs are like, chickens are just doing their thing, and they're like, and then there it is, and it's something that's good for you and has good stuff for you.
Yeah.
And milk, I think the same thing. It's like this is something that's naturally occurring, as just being produced in abundance.
Yeah.
It's a process. But yeah, Rob, I mean, this is the thing. I'm like, okay, so is, eating meat and then eating like a salad where like you had to harvest the plant. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't know. I've never thought about that until this moment.
Yeah,
But
it's a good question, bro.
yeah, I've never thought about that. But I do fully buy into, like, I mentioned the comfort crisis, and I forget the author's name, but he goes on a hunt in Alaska with a very skilled hunter, and I think it's 3 guys in total, and they're like surviving off of cliff bars in the middle of nowhere, frigid tundra, Alaska, hunting something. I don't remember what it was. And the guide was very adamant that they hunt the biggest, not because of the meat they'll yield, even though the biggest obviously yields the most meat, but because of the circle of life. The biggest animal is the oldest, and it is consuming the most nutrients. It is also, in that one kill, able to provide a tremendous amount of food for the people who hunted it, their families, their friends, their community, so on and so forth. But it also gives space for the younger and smaller animals to now fill that space, fill that void, grow into something bigger, and it creates a healthy life cycle for that species. And so, I think when you think about, I think all of it really comes down to, like, the appreciation for life, but also the appreciation for death, and not being, because we live in a world that I think is so afraid of death and terrified. And like death is just seen as this, like, it is evil, it is bad, it is like the end. And it's like, well, it's the end of something, but it's also the beginning of a lot of other things. And I think as soon as you kind of make that shift and you recognize that, like, a death is a beginning in and of itself, that's when you can start to really, like, appreciate the value of it. And that's where gratitude practice comes into play.
Yeah.
It's like really appreciating the saying goodbye to something, because that goodbye is a hello to something amazing, whether that's food on your plate, or it's the end of the season and crops are not going to grow in the winter. And I think that's part of it too, is like knowing that, like, if you don't harvest your crop, it's going to wilt and die at the end of the season anyway. So it's might as well leverage it for some sort of gain that you can get in your community.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Where I've definitely fallen is like just being grateful and appreciative for my meals. I
Yeah.
love to take a minute before I eat to, like, literally thank God that, like, I made it to another meal. Because really, like, we can get caught up with like a lot of stuff in this life, but if you have like a bunch of cars and whatever, but you're not making it to your next meal, you're fucked.
100%.
So
Yeah.
I could feel like I don't have anything figured out and be stressed out in a day, and then sit down and be like, I made it to another meal. Like, I'm literally as blessed as anyone possibly can be. And to me, eating in that vibration is like, that's something I know is helpful for me. And then my other approach to this is like, I'm just gonna keep talking about it, because I'm like, the best I feel like I can do right now is listen to my body being like, meat feels a little repulsive right now. I don't know why. I don't know what's right and wrong. Maybe there is no right and wrong. I'm not sure. We're also like living in a society that's like super far downstream in a system that's kind of like could be improved, I think, but we also have a ton of people here. And so how do you feed everybody? Like, there's so much stuff that's like way beyond what I can impact right now. But so that's why I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to my own body, I guess.
Yeah.
And not eat it if it doesn't sound good, because that's usually when I feel the worst in physically, and then keep talking about it, because I can keep like learning and feeling out, even like saying the things, professing like where I'm at, allows me to sit with it in a way of like, how do I feel about that,
Yeah.
and feel into it, and then always just like gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the pre-dinner ritual that you have, the blessing that we did the other night?
Oh yeah. So it's yumming your food. So putting your hands together, you're rubbing energy together. And I'll just hold this. And um, what I like to do is like take a look at my, if I cooked it, I know what's in it, or if I'm ordering it, take a look at what's in it and like thank the components. So if I am eating meat, I'm thanking that animal. I'm thinking about the fact that that animal was living a life. It was living a whole experience. Like cows watch the sunset and have best friends. It's like been observed and studied.
And they're so fucking.
They're so cute.
They're so cute.
Like I've been around cows, and like I'll when I'm in Michigan and I'm out by farmland, I'll take a stop and like sing to cows, and they'll come over and listen, and I'll hang out, and they'll just look at me, and I'm just looking at them, and that's a real thing. So if I'm gonna, whatever it is, like I'm thinking about like, yo, the fact that I have rice is insane. Like the fact that there's like, you know, whatever it is I'm eating, some cheese, like whatever, will thank the different components for like being what they were and call them out. And it allows me to be in such a state of like, whoa, like it's so tight. I get to eat this stuff. And then gratitude as well. And state that I love doing that like with other people too, to just bring us together, to be like, man, it is a blessing here that we're just a simple thing as a meal, like is a blessing. And then you rub them together, and then all together, and like do that over your plate. It's yumming your food, and it you could do whatever. I like praying in front of my meals too, and I'm not a religious person anymore, and like whatever it is of just a celebration and an acknowledgement and sharing gratitude, and just like taking a minute to be like, this is the most important thing. This is how we stay alive. And this is, we go to the grocery store. Like the grocery store is insane. We don't hunt anymore. It's just, we can go buy whatever we want from different countries all over the place. We can get wild caught Alaskan salmon right now and go like chef up with a mango and an avocado and some rice and a cucumber. And it's a bunch of stuff that came from a bunch of places. And like, we can do that right now. That's unbelievable. And if you just mindlessly like go make a salmon bowl and move on with your life, it's like, that's okay. It's not bad, but I think you're missing out on something that really is magic.
And I think part of like really appreciating life is like savoring those experiences.
Yeah.
And thinking of food as an experience. Like I struggled with like sort of competitive eating. Like, do you know like what competitive eating is?
Like Joey Chestnut vibes?
What is Joey Chestnut?
Like
oh, that's a hot dog guy?
Hot dog
oh,
eating?
No. I mean, maybe that's a form of competitive eating, but like competitive eating is like, I can't believe I knew that. The Nathan's guy. Yeah, of course. I haven't heard that name in years. I haven't even thought of that.
I can't believe I just pulled that up.
Yeah, you pull it out. You're
amazing.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut. What a name, too. What a fucking name.
It's a perfect name.
It is. I mean, if you're born with the name Joey Chestnut and you're not fucking slinging glizzies, I don't know what you're doing. You got to, 100%. It's like when you build a habit of eating quickly because you've experienced eating in a competitive environment. So like for me, it was when I was playing hockey growing up, and we would go to like a Mexican restaurant and there'd be one bowl of queso and there's 8 fucking hockey players. We're like, if I don't eat that chip, Mike is eating that chip. If I don't eat that chip, Bob's eating that chip, whatever. And so it creates this competitive culture around eating. And so I've taken that to this day, even though I know if I don't eat that chip, fucking no one's eating that chip. Like I eat alone a lot. And so like, there's no reason for me to eat and consume so quickly and just like gobble it up.
Yeah.
But it's been so instilled in my eating experience, my consumption experience, that like that's how I continue to eat to this day. And it's not healthy. Chewing, mastication is your first step in digestion, right? Yeah. So like how do you eat faster? Chew less. But the problem is if you chew less, your stomach has to do more because the food is larger chunks. And so then that's what causes acid reflux, because the acid then tries to break down the food because you're not masticating enough. There's not enough, it's not fine enough for your acid to actually like break it down properly. And so then that's when you get like the buildup and you get heartburn and things of that nature. So also why I drink kombuchas, because of all that shit. That's now I like it. I think it's a good thing to have, and probiotics are great, whatever.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, gut health is important. And it was crazy, like gut health, how it like it's literally just like that gut biome is like what creates like your health in every other capacity.
Yeah.
It is boggling. That's how, which is also just, you know, the importance of this whole conversation around being appreciative of it, but also consuming stuff that feels right to you and listening to your body.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point behind the competitive eating piece is, you know, I think we all have some sort of food traumas, and that's a bit of a strong word for it, but I'll use it anyway. But some traumas with like food and other things, so where like it really detracts from that experience. I think being appreciative and like recognizing it, savoring every bite, chewing properly, that gives you more enjoyment, but too, a hell of a lot healthier body.
Yeah.
Is way better. When I start to eat slower, I start to consume less, and I start to be healthier, and like the food goes further.
Yeah.
My body's able to digest more of it, extract more of its nutrients. So like for every 1 calorie, I'm getting more out of it, as opposed to it just being like waste and being literally shit out.
I'll tell you what though, if you can eat one blueberry and just like savor it and feel into like what is happening, you know, somebody had to probably plant a bush or find a bush. Certainly it was planted and then grow it. And then what this bush is just like, here's a bunch of little blue orbs. That's magic. And then, you know, somebody picks it and puts it somewhere, and then you go pick it up at the grocery store. Maybe you picked it or whatever. Think about all that stuff, and you slow down. You have that one blueberry, and you just taste every part of it, and you're breathing. If you can do that, bro, I feel like it's like you can, that experience translates into just life. And it's not always easy, but if you can tap into that same energy when you're like stressed out dealing with something, of just like, man, this thing is like, it's a gift. It's a gift to be facing these challenges. It's a gift to like, there's so much magic around me, even though I'm stressed out. Like, this is me talking to myself for sure.
Yeah.
But that I think is so much of the beauty behind doing it with food specifically, because food, you're also just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how I beat my allergies. If I can really shift that narrative from like, this fucking walnut's going to kill me. Maybe start with the cashew. That's less harmful.
Yeah. Start with something that feels not so super daunting.
Yeah.
And also your allergies aren't like something to beat. They're like a young Anthony that just wants some love.
Mm.
That's how I see it for sure. 'Cause that's how it was for me. It was like, bro, there's like a very, very, very scared crying kid. Crying Micah version, like who's not getting love, and he's like rejecting life. And so of course he's rejecting this food. And then, you know, and then it's just this journey of buying into this idea that I have something wrong with me. You know, I can't do this. I can't eat those things. Like I can't do it. And I'm just perpetuating this and believing it and like creating this reality for myself. And so then just being like, man, I don't want to feel that way anymore. It's not working. It's like it's just not working the same way. And so what is that? You know, it doesn't mean like, okay, it's over. You never feel something. But like how would it feel for you if you were to like eat one cashew and feel scared and feel like your body was maybe starting to feel uncomfortable, and like even like what symptoms do you have if you have something?
Like hives, throat closes, itchiness, and then it's my skin reacts, my stomach, you know, gets uncomfortable, and I puke up whatever food I ate.
Yeah. So definitely going very small scale and slow, and you might feel some of those things, but like you're grown now, and you could set this up in a container that's like beautiful and supportive of you, and then doing it in a way where you can then like feel it. And I think some of that like young Anthony might come up, and you have an opportunity to be like, what's up, bro? Yeah, I'm here. And give him what he wanted at that time when you were experiencing that stuff, and you're getting shit on by a pigeon, and fuck these churches.
I feel like there's a lot of context that we're not.
Yeah, we're not sharing all the context. We're just getting into it right now.
Shall I give the quick? Do you want to give the quick overview?
I don't even think the details are necessary
Okay.
as much as like the idea of allergies being like, man, we're rejecting something, our system's rejecting something. And I'm not an expert, but I like to think about like, well, what was going on? What was going on at the time? Because oftentimes like the fears that we have are tapped into or are like um, sort of revolve around something that like was happening with that thing. So like people who are afraid of water, it's like, well, did you have an experience that like
Mhm.
sucked in water? Like, and you can take a look and be like, yeah, totally. And maybe not, maybe it's a little harder to figure out, but like you can look at that experience and be like, dude, that sucked. Or at least I can, that's what I think about.
I think there is
I have my
a
first
slight detail
reaction.
that matters because like this is very getting like tinfoil hatty.
Okay.
So I'm going to quickly say Micah was allergic to a lot of vegetables. It was carrots was the first experience you had.
Yeah.
And again, the details there, but it was like vegetables and fruits,
Yep.
pretty much across the board.
Yep.
And you said you basically got to this moment, early 20s, was it? 18, high school?
20 when I was over it.
Yeah.
I was 26.
Oh, that was that recently.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
only a few years ago.
Yeah, 26. And Micah was basically fed up and was like, I'm going to change the narrative on, was it carrot the first thing you started with? No.
It was a raspberry.
Raspberry.
Yeah.
And like that had historically given you allergic reactions. And you just started by taking a little bite.
Yeah.
Changing the narrative, really being grateful for it, really savoring it, experiencing mild symptoms, if I remember correctly, but nothing too severe, like a little itchiness in your throat, you said.
Yeah, I didn't with those, but I did with some avocado when I was tapping into
That's right.
avocado
Yeah.
and kiwi. There was
Yeah.
still a little bit of something that came up with those.
And over time can continue that process through basically every food until a point where no longer have allergies.
Yeah.
I think that's important detail.
Yeah. And one more important detail is that I very, very definitively, with like an emotion to it, I made the decision, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And I was able to have the awareness around like, man, how's this affecting me? I'm eating in fear all the time.
Yeah.
Because unless I'm cooking my own things that I have dialed in, I'm eating in fear. Because if somebody else is going to chef for me and they don't know what's going on, or they just like, they are going to remove all my allergies oftentimes. And so then I'm sitting there waiting to receive this food, being like, is it going to be messed up? Is it going to be something I'm allergic to? Like, look at how my body, like, I tense up. This is how it feels.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I'm done. I'm done with it. I don't want to experience that anymore. Like, I want to eat this stuff. I want to partake. I want to be healthy. I want to be free of that. And I really think that like decision that like it was emotionally backed of feeling like, yes, like I'm done with it. I just like I'm ending this toxic relationship of like constant fear around food and let's go. And then, took me a year to like play out my approach to it, which was great. I was doing my own pace.
Yeah.
But I really think that was a huge part of it, was like being like, no, like I'm done here. I'm done with it.
Yeah. All right. I think the last topic I want to talk with you about, because I think we're getting about done with getting to the end of the time. You, a couple days ago, you talked a little bit about when you would release anger as a kid and what that was met with from a parent. Can you talk about that a little bit and sort of like how your concept of emotional expression has evolved?
Yeah. Or not evolved.
It's definitely evolved.
It's evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of temper tantrums as a kid. I threw a lot of temper tantrums. I actually like have no idea if I threw a lot, but the way I remember it, it's like it feels like it was a lot. It feels like it happened a lot. I would get angry at things. Oftentimes, as the youngest of four, my brother's 2 years older than me. We're always competing and playing and having like the most fun, but then also like fighting the most. So there was just a lot of shit that I'd get angry about. A big one was stuff that I felt was unjust. And being the youngest, I felt like I could get away with a lot of stuff, but I also could be overlooked at times. And so then I'm sitting there feeling like something's unjust and I'm not being heard. or I don't know how to articulate like what I'm feeling. You know, it wasn't always somebody else's fault, oftentimes mine.
Yeah.
But all of those things just like frustrating me to a point where I'm just like explosion. My tactic being like, well, if I'm not going to get justice, then everyone's like gonna burn in the whole, like I'll just fuck everything up, because then it's fair.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the only one that's like feeling like I'm getting shafted, then I'm gonna shaft everybody else too. And the only way I knew how was like rage, scream, and run around and punch stuff and, you know, throw things and whatever. So that was definitely a part of my emotional expression growing up. Um, and I remember definitively at one point in time, maybe in high school or college, reflecting and being like, huh, I stopped throwing temper tantrums. And thinking like, I did it. I solved it. Like I solved anger. I don't do that anymore. You know, I don't have this expression. And then in the last 6 months, I've realized actually I like suppressed and shoved down anger, and I no longer know how to release it healthily. I don't know how to express my anger. Like right now, I'm talking in the present moment. Like I am afraid to release my anger because I'm afraid that it will get met with the repercussions that it was met with when I was throwing tantrums as a kid, which was like my parents just doing their best to try to figure it out. But you know, like getting put in timeout, or like getting my video games taken away, or my toys thrown away, or like whatever it is. I feel like if I let my anger out now, like that will happen. And so
right, it's set up the consequence of, if you release anger, you lose a toy.
Yeah.
And so to this day, there's a fear, and you don't want to release that anger because you're going to lose something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to go bad for me, and it's going to be too much for people. I'll get in trouble. Something will be taken. I will be set back. You know, it's evolved a bit to like the mature thing of like, but it's kind of irrational. It just feels like a feeling in me, that like letting out anger is off limits, because that's what I basically learned as a way to continue to protect myself basically while I'm growing up. So it's been fascinating, because I realize like when I am angry about something, if I don't let it out, which I'm used to not doing, it doesn't go away. It just gets stored somewhere, or just like shelved for later. And then if I do that enough, it'll get to a point where like all of a sudden I have so much anger in me that I'm like removing myself from society in a way where like I'm now hibernating my room, or I'm like going and driving, like rage driving an hour away, and like just like screaming in my car, and like it's not that is not sustainable, you know. That's not like healthy living as a human being, as an adult. And it's not responsible. I can't be relied on. I'm ghosting people if I like get too angry. So I started having those experiences like earlier this year, and being able to start to see like, oh, this is like will fuck with my life if I don't learn how to handle this. And so really now I'm just at the point of being like, okay, I'm aware now that I don't know how to, or like, it's not that I don't know how to, it's more of, I'm aware now that I'm uncomfortable releasing my anger, and I have these fears and ideas that it'll go bad. And so this is why, to bring us all the way back to the beginning of like identity wise and whatnot, it's like my whole thing is like, man, I just have the courage to do it, because I'm not going to figure it out in here. It's just going to be an experience that I like have to learn how to release anger by naming it. Hey, I'm angry. I don't know what to do with it here. Here's what I'm angry about. That's kind of my approach. But having the courage to be like, I'm angry and here's why, that's very scary to me. It feels very like off limits. It feels like I shouldn't do that. It would be harmful for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. It's just trying to recognize it and then to go forward.
I mean, and that goes with every emotion, right?
Absolutely.
Allowing yourself to really experience it.
Yeah.
Well, Micah, thank you so much.
You're welcome, bro.
I really appreciate the time. Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not barely having you. I'm using your house.
You're having your podcast, baby. Let's go.
That's true. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me be a guest. It's pleasure to chat. I'd love to do it again sometime.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Give me a hug.
Let's go, dude.
Oh,
Love you, man.
love you.
Proud of you for this.
Thank you.
This is tight. It's a blessing.
I really appreciate that. Let's go.